Have a seat and hold on tight. Because the ultra-high performance tire that first raised the bar just crushed it again. With better traction, more stability, improved wet braking. For the modern muscle car, it's the next level of performance. Step up to the all-new Nitto 555 G2. Check it out at nittotire.com. It's what's next.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, you are now tuned in to 110 Sports Talk. I go by the name Lynn Knack. Hey,
it's the best.
1 and 2 the competition, no competition. You don't believe it, turn us up. Sit back and listen. We bringing you the stats, all the breaking news and facts. Want the latest on the biggest trade war, this is where it's at. We don't talk it, boy, we live it. Got that all around coverage. From track and field, you name a field, we got it all covered. No diss to Derrick Rose, but we don't talk that bull. Just wait till he get healthy, better watch out for them bulls. Slide over the hockey, shout out to the Kings. Salute to LeBron James, y'all both got y'all rings. Looking for the real, you tune into the best. The sportologist and Mr. TJ Sports is up next.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at DJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Glad to be here on this Hump Day Wednesday. Yes, wrapping things up here at the 110 Nation Sports Show for the week. Don't fear, we got Racing with Big Sweat tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. We got a really good show planned for you guys tomorrow night. And I'm pulling up the long list of names that will be attending this show tomorrow night. If you are a racing fan, you definitely want to make sure Thursday night show, Racing with Big Sweat, is a show that features on local drivers, those that work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 or whatever shift they may work, so they can be out there tearing up their race cars on Friday and Saturday night, no matter if it's dirt track, asphalt, whatever the case may be. We get to have these guys on and get to hear some very inspirational stories and listen to some neat tales of how they're making ends meet and experience on the track and a whole bunch of different things. So make sure you guys check that out. But this show will be a roundtable discussion about the Snowball Derby weekend. We got Snowflake driver Derek Scott Jr., Snowflake driver Ryan Luza, Snowball driver Kaz Brayla, and Snowball driver Clay Jones joining us. So we got 2 from the Snowflake, 2 from the Snowball. And, of course, you got the hosts, Steve, Big Splash, and Bill Meyer. We'll also have Chris, Yellow Caution Flag, Creighton, and then myself on the show as well. So going to be a full house tomorrow night. So make sure you guys tune in for that. And also don't forget, we got the morning show, the 110 Nation morning show kicks off at 8 o'clock. So no fear. This might be the last night of the week for the 110 Nation Sports Show, but we still got more shows to carry us out the rest of this week. Got some big things coming to the 110 Nation. This might end up expanding this whole ordeal. You never know. But we got some really big news that we are working on. We're finalizing and getting the details and seeing if we're going to be on board or not. But I have a good feeling that this will work out in our favor and really expand our listenership and our network here. So looking forward to that and looking forward to the opportunity of releasing that information soon as everything gets finalized. But definitely working on some things here. If you're not checking us out on Facebook, you can check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation. Also check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com, and check out our company site, www.the110nation.com. Somewhere else. Dang on, give the dog a phone right before the day go on the show. Didn't think that one through all the way, obviously, but Yes. Laying right here, right behind me. Chewing on his phone. Wow. Got some NFL news. Oakland Raiders have signed a 4-year contract extension with Michael Crabtree for $35 million. The deal has $19 million in guaranteed money. Crabtree didn't get much interest as a free agent last year. They down 2014 season with Colin Kaepernick throwing the ball in San Francisco. Nice little bounce back with 66 catches, 760 yards, 7 touchdowns in his 1-year deal. And, that's also splitting time with the rookie sensation, Amari Cooper, with a still very young quarterback in Derek Carr. So, obviously, Michael Crabtree, bringing his veteranship to the team and, his talent has obviously helped him land a nice little contract. Once thought of kind of being washed up and being done, and going from that with one quarterback to the next quarterback. And it goes to show you how quarterbacks can really have an impact on a wide receiver's contract and career. I mean, you have him out in San Francisco and with Colin Kaepernick back there, and Crabtree looked like he was kind of washed up and went to an Oakland Raiders team, with one of the very few teams that really showed any interest, and a team that was kind of just looking for someone to fill a spot. I mean, if you're stuck going to an Oakland Raiders team that hasn't been very good for a while, there weren't too many people out there willing to take a chance on you, and wasn't really looking at you. When Oakland took that chance, and they're continuance of rebuilding the team. Kind of a win-win situation, really, for both parties here. Not only Crabtree is now he's locked in for another 4 years, and just short of $9 million a year, 8.75. So can't really complain at all here. And Oakland Raiders, they've gotten 66 catches and 760 yards and 7 touchdowns at this point, and a player that is really helping make it easier for Amari Cooper. I mean, having a serious threat opposite of Amari Cooper, or even if they happen to line up on the same side, you're at this point got to take either one as a serious threat, and it helps draw some of the attention that you didn't have anybody opposite or on the field with them that they wouldn't have had to put that much attention into. So I mean, this has really worked out for the Oakland Raiders, for Amari Cooper, for Derek Carr, and then of course Michael Crabtree, as he reaps the benefits of this. But really a good thing for the Oakland Raiders, and the way this team keeps really rebuilding and becoming more and more of a serious threat. So I think this is really a win-win situation going into this year. As this year's progressed and moving into the future, is now, maybe you can focus on something to maybe improve the run game a little bit better, and giving maybe yourself a slot receiver, and really giving Derek Carr a lot of toys to play with, really, and then focus on your defense a little bit more to help prevent some of these games getting out of control. If your defense would have made some more stops, and then you would have required your offense to outscore the other team and put up some ridiculous points sometimes. I mean, you were 35, 37, whatever it was, against the Baltimore Ravens, and your offense still had to outscore. If you would have played defense, your offense wouldn't have had to outscore. And sometimes your offense just is not clicking. You have those days, and you have those afternoons that Derek Carr is not going to be clicking on all cylinders. And your defense, it's got to be able to stop teams. It can't always rely on, Amari Cooper, having one of those sensational rookie plays that we've been seeing, or Derek Carr, march that team down the field and just having to hit every pass. This Oakland Athletic team, especially with Peyton Manning falling off, and we're not counting on Osweiler to continue to run the table. It's realistically, teams are going to start to be able to prepare for him, and it's all going to cycle through, and he's just going to be another average quarterback. So at this point, San Diego, I don't know what they need to fix, but it's not like Phillip Rivers is not putting up performances, but obviously San Diego is not clicking on all cylinders. And it's funny because Kansas City kind of wrote them off when they weren't able to win with Jamal Charles, gets hurt, and, they lose, 5-6 games straight. They lose 5 or 6 straight, then he gets hurt, and all of a sudden they win 6 games straight or whatever it is. So it's hard to figure out this Kansas City Chiefs, but I don't think anybody takes Kansas City as a serious Super Bowl contending team with Alex Smith back there at the quarterback position. I don't think anybody can really put them in Super Bowl conversation. Alex Smith is one of those quarterbacks, I think, managed and game planned around, as long as he's throwing 10-yard passes, 15-yard passes at most. He's very, very accurate. 75%. Doesn't hardly ever turn it over. But once you start getting deeper, 15, 20, and on out, the accuracy falls off. He just doesn't have that kind of arm. So as long as you game plan around that, you're good. But when you start coming up against the best of the best in an AFC Championship game, and when you talk about a Super Bowl, I don't think anybody can put Alex Smith in that conversation and be serious about it. I just no. And so you got this Oakland Raiders team that honestly, 2-3 players on offense and 2 or 3 players on defense. And, all you got to do is really maximize your first 3-round draft picks. Yes, it's a crapshoot. Round 4, 5, 6, and 7. And, you have your Tom Brady's in the world and Jerry Rice's in the world and 6-round draft picks that happen to be all-time greats. And so, yes, you got to take those later drafts as serious as you do the first 2, 3. But realistically, that your first 3 picks are players that are more likely going to find a starting spot and at least make the backup second-string players. And once you start getting 4, 5, and 6, counting your off-season moves, then more likely they're going to be cut. And or never seen at all, and eventually cut at some point. You might keep them on so you have a third-string quarterback or a fourth-string quarterback or third-string, fourth-string running back, whatever the case may be, but nobody you ever intend on playing, and once you get past his little cheap contract, you have no intention of keeping him again, and you'll just draft another player down the road that'll do the same thing. So a good 3 players in the draft and another good 2 or 3 off-season moves away from taking this AFC West. With the quarterback position really kind of being a question in Denver and half the team in San Diego, good God, what the hell happened? And like I said, Kansas City, just Jamal Charles ever going to come back. When he comes back, is going to ever be the same. And, how far can the Alex Smith take you? And there's no reason not to believe that Oakland is not that close to being serious contenders of taking this division and not be a NFC East kind of scenario where, okay, you only got to be 500 or barely above 500. No, I think this Oakland Raider team is just 2 to 3 players offensively and defensively away from like legitimately being a 12-4, 13-3, even possibly a 14-2 kind of team. I could see this team being only a season or 2 away from being able to sweep their division. I mean, like, not having problems handling the Chargers, the Chiefs, or the Broncos. And maybe having a hiccup in the road against your Patriots or Bengals or Seattle Seahawks of the NFL, but pretty much could hold their own against any team in the NFL. Oh, that's how close I feel that these Oakland Raiders are getting. I mean, once upon a time, I mean, they counted on Carson Palmer coming off of, a 2-year retirement and being way out of shape to help them win games. I mean, this is where this Oakland Raider team is coming from. And to see where they was once upon a time, they're not but more than a few years ago. I mean, you're really looking at Carson Palmer's been in Arizona 2, maybe 3 years. I just think 2 years. It's not been that long ago since Carson Palmer was in Oakland. And so to see that, to see where they're at now, it's kind of exciting to see where this Oakland Raider team has gone from. The last time they was really decent, it was when Hugh Jackson was there, and I believe they went 8-8, and that's when they fired him, and which I never understood that because that was the first year in a long time they had been good. That was his rookie season as a coach, and you cut him off and you went in a different direction, and that's just think where that team could be now. And I don't know if they were upset because they won too many games and to get the draft picks they wanted. I don't know, because I can imagine if he was able to do what he was working with then. Now look at this team now. I mean, obviously the better records, the draft picks wouldn't have been as good. Who say they still didn't experience that same bump in the road, and now you had Hugh Jackson that led the nobodies to 8-8. Now you have all these players. You can imagine they could probably already been the best in the West. But I think this Oakland Raider team, I think they did some soul searching, because this team is definitely gone in the right direction and definitely it's improved leaps and bounds to compare to what they was. And like I said, you're maybe 3 to 5 good 3 to 5 players away from being the best team in the West and being easily a top 2, maybe top 3 team in the AFC period, in the NFL period. I mean, top 5 easy. So, good move for the Oakland Raiders, and glad to see that it all worked out and Michael Patricia got this opportunity. The NFL fined Antonio Brown for the goalpost celebration. Of course. The NFL has decided to fine Pittsburgh Steelers. This before I continue on reading this, I'm going to tread this very carefully, because one part of me is going to open one can of worms, and the other part of me is going to open another can of worms. No, I don't want to watch all the celebrations that I have to see in the NFL. I'm sorry, but to watch Cam Newton for 11 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is at this point, 13 weeks I've done lost how many games they've won at this point. Watch him to do 2 or 3 different ridiculous dances in the end zone every time he scored, yes, I don't want to watch it. When we watch a player make a great play, but their team is down by 3 or 4 touchdowns and they celebrate, I don't want to see it. To me, you look really ignorant. Not even a split second, not even a fraction of a split of a hair of a second, should it ever cross your mind to celebrate or bring any kind of attention to a good play you made when your team is down by 3 or 4 touchdowns, even 2 or 3 touchdowns. At no point should it. You should be more concerned with the fact that you guys are losing and losing badly and be concentrating on that versus doing some kind of celebration because you made a sack or because you tackled the running back behind the line of scrimmage or they did not catch it one time, but they done scored 5 touchdowns already in the game. I mean, come on now. But when we watch somebody like Antonio Brown take over the kick return or punt return process and takes it to the house for an 80-yard touchdown, whatever it was that they took back, I do not have a problem with him running to the goalpost and doing what he did. And I hate the Steelers. I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. Everybody knows this. So, I mean, I hate all 31 teams, but, of course, there's a little bit more hatred when it comes to the 3 teams in my division. And one is because one is the Steelers, one is because Baltimore moved from Cleveland, and the other one is because it's the other Ohio team. But I hate all the other 31 teams. So I don't even sit there and think they're listening to the show that he's got to be a Steelers fan. No, I hate the Steelers. I have a lot of respect for Ben Roethlisberger as a quarterback, not as a person, but as a quarterback. For a guy to be that big and that hard to tackle, but be as vocal as he is, that says a lot about Ben Roethlisberger. And watch him run and get that big body movement and some of the throws he makes. I mean, how the touchdown to San Antonio Holmes in the end zone to win the Super Bowl, that it was just like only where Holmes could catch it. And I won't take nothing away from Holmes' catch because it was remarkable what Holmes did. But for him to put it there where the defense could not get to it and only Holmes could get to it, I have to have a lot of respect for Big Ben. I have a lot of respect for that receiving corps with Bryant, Wheaton, and Brown. I mean, that receiving corps, and then, of course, you got Keith Miller as well. There's nobody in the land that has a receiving corps playing to the caliber that this receiving corps is playing to. But even more, to watch him step into that position because the other player, it just wasn't working, and for him to take it to the house and split this game wide open, I have no problem with what he did. So, yes, part of me, I don't like all the ridiculous, for some reason I don't have a problem with Aaron Rodgers doing the double check. As long as you're winning the game, I mean, it's something simple. It is what it is. But to watch a quarterback do 2 or 3 dances, such as Cam Newton does, which he does the dab, which all that is promoting weed smoking, and was educated, and it was all educated today on social media everywhere that's where it came from, was when you hit a strand of good weed, you kind of cup into your elbow like that and put your other hand out. That's what dabbing is and what it means. So not only is he doing 2 or 3 dances, subconsciously he's promoting weed smoking, but even more so, I don't really care. There's a whole meaning behind it. Then you got to wait for him to go take a football to a fan. And see, that's where people start getting aggravated is all this extra celebrate. Like, at least with the Green Bay Packers, they're not doing individual 2 or 3 dances, then go leap into do the Lambeau Leap. They straight go in to do the Lambeau Leap, and that's it. And I don't have a problem with that. And every team should have their thing. It's when you start getting individual players each doing their individual things. Now, the Antonio Brown thing, what's even what was even less aggravating to me about that was the fact that it wasn't a big to-do. It wasn't like Cam Newton doing 2 or 3 dances running the football to a fan. He ran into it as he ran into the end zone. He just ran straight to the pole and jumped and acted like he caught it, slid down it, and that was it. Like, there was not a big to-do. There wasn't some dances. No, he ran straight to it. By the time the referee signals a touchdown, he's done smack the pole. He hits the pole, gets down, gets up, and that's it. And see, that's why I said I'm open one can of worms on each side, because part of me has no problem with what I see out of some players, because it doesn't get drawn out and it's at appropriate times. And then what's the other side of me, I get tired of watching players having the game handed to their butts handed to them, and they're celebrating or all this ridiculously long celebration that we got to see out of Cam Newton and everything. So part of me is on one side of the fence, and the other part of me is on the other side of the fence. But that's kind of why I didn't want to open up that can of worms, but I really had no choices, you know. And reading this fine, and I don't know, it just at the right times, it's nice to see players show some kind of emotion. Sometimes. And it's got to be the right time. Like I said, it can't be while you're getting beat by 3-4 touchdowns in a football game. It can't be forever long. It's got to have class to it. I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about yesterday. Why is it that NBA players give each other high fives after every single free throw? Or they give each other five after every single free throw they make. It's a wide open shot at a line at the same spot on the court every single time. It doesn't move. It's not contested. There's no reason that every time a basketball player makes a free throw, they should be given five from everybody on the court, on the team. I'm sorry. Why are you rewarding each other for making what should be the easiest shot in basketball? That even at your worst player in the NBA, everybody should be making at least 80%, especially the type of money they're making. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel about it. You're getting some kind of emotion. I mean, you sit there and watch a basketball game, and especially when they start lighting up threes, and just to see them running down the court and watching some of them, you know, bend over real low, holding the three-finger symbol right there next to the court as they're running down, and, you know, just different things that, you know, we're seeing, you know, and James Harden. I mean, as much as I am anti-James Harden, because he's not nowhere close to being a big three or that good, there's a reason why. He was the sixth man in Oklahoma. There's a reason for it. But he does a whole feed me more thing, and you know, there's certain things that at the right time I feel is good for the sport. I feel is good for the athlete. And I feel is good for the fans, because it helps get the crowd into it. It helps shows a shift of momentum. And at those times, I don't care that the players do it. There shouldn't be a fine. And I understand the Vicksburg Steelers game, it was kind of out of hand, but it was a whole game. It was a big play. To me, this would be the same in the NBA as, you know, a punt return, at least a half-court shot, maybe even farther. Football grand slam. I mean, it's a punt return. I mean, it's not just, you know, some simple catch and you know, this is a return. You got to break through everybody, and it's not like on a catch where half the guys are on the line, and you're only going really trying to outwit and out perform the defensive backs and the cornerbacks and stuff. No, you're running through your people and the defense, the other special teams. So, I mean, there's a little bit more to it. And like I said, I know the game was a little bit out of hand, but that was a big play. It was a home run. It sealed the deal. And it took no really extra time. I mean, he literally ran straight into the goalpost. Like I said, at certain times it's fine. In a close game, yes, I am all about don't hold up every play, but every really good play in a close game. If there's a sack and it's a close game, I have no problem in doing, especially the home team. Yes, if you're a away team, yeah, you might not want to do it because it's not changing the momentum and now it's just kind of redundant. But if you're that home team, yes, like you got to do what you got to do to get the fans into it. And, like I said, if the players would do it right and do it when it should be done, I would never want to see a fine. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, as annoying as it was for T.O., a lot of times it was at the right time, and it got the crowd going. And the NFL decided to fine Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown for a Super Mario Brothers celebration when he slid down or really off the goalposts after his punt return score against the Indianapolis Colts. They're reporting that he was fined $11,576. I mean, not a crap ton of money, especially not compared to what he is making. But yet he did still. And I want to. I'm trying to figure out also what. I mean, how does Cam Newton get to do his celebrations? I mean, is it because he touched the goalpost? I mean, I'm not understanding because you're finding certain players in certain amounts for, I don't know, I was trying to read if they actually gave a reason to why he got fine they got, because I mean we watch plenty of players do different celebrations, and so to me, you kind of have to open a can of worms unless you're just not allowed to touch the goalpost, because I know they did away with that because of the dunking that Jimmy Graham was doing with the goalpost. So, I guess really the only conclusion I could really come up with, Al Jefferson suspended 5 games for an unnamed drug, in parentheses, this is pot infraction. Al Jefferson will turn 31 years old in January. He is a potent NBA scoring rebounder and a respected teammate. The Charlotte Hornets center has also been suspended 5 games by the NBA for an unspecified drug violation. The suspension will begin once Jefferson returns from the calf injury that has limited him for the last 2 weeks. And for the last week, and possibly keep him out another 2 weeks. As such, the Hornets could be without Jefferson for the rest of the 2015 calendar year. We are disappointed by Al's decision that led to this suspension. As an organization, we do not condone this behavior. We have addressed this with Al. He is regretful and understands that we expect him to learn from his mistake. The below statement is from Al Jefferson regarding the situation. I want to apologize to the Hornets organization, our owner, my teammates, and my coaches for the poor decisions that I have made. I know I have let people down, especially the Hornets fans that have been so supportive of me since I arrived in Charlotte 2 years ago. I am blessed to be able to play the game that I love for a living, and I do not take that for granted. From the bottom of my heart, I am truly sorry, and I'm committed to making smarter decisions in the future. Jefferson 17 games, averaged 13.7 points and 6.4 rebounds per 26 minutes of game. You know, I'm not quite sure how I feel about this because right now you got two states that it's legal. Now that government sees that, yes, there is a way to tax marijuana, more and more states are going to do it. That was the only reason that marijuana was ever legal before. There's less medical harm in marijuana compared to alcohol and tobacco that are both legal. They were just taxable. So now that they see that this is a thing that the state can make money off of, every state's eventually going to go to legalize the marijuana, especially with there not being any really serious side effects. It's not a performance-enhancing drug. Now, where it's not it's not legal in 48 states, I can understand that kind of being a thing. I don't know how it's really the league's concerned. In any league, really, if they smoke marijuana. You have to understand that you can't have them allow them doing the other drug because the rest of them are uppers for the most part. I mean, yeah, obviously you're going to test for speed and coke and everything else that are uppers, but marijuana has never made anybody a better athlete. Sorry, it's not an enhancing drug. It enhances you. If anything, it makes you not want to do anything and eat and I mean, nothing that is going to help an athlete be better or really be a better athlete or really even a good athlete. PEDs, yes. A narcotic that could help, yes. You know, speed, like I said. Marijuana, why are you going to nitpick on if that's the worst thing Al Jefferson is doing? I'm sorry, but if that's the worst thing he's doing, why bug the man? Like, I don't get it. All the stuff that goes on, the domestic violence, the PEDs, the hardcore narcotics, child abuse, child neglect, him cheating on her cheating on him, all the things that you can hold a reason to suspend somebody. I know it's really none of the team's business to be in a relationship, but I mean, I'm sorry, but I would rather somebody be suspended for committing adultery and going outside of their marriage. That is legal binding, and it should be something that is, you know, held sacred. Then you suspend somebody that smokes some weed. If a player wants to smoke weed and eat a bunch of food and get out of shape and not be able to perform, or smoke and try to go play a sport that they're just really not going to be enthused to play high, okay, let them do it. It's their career. I just think you got bigger fish that you could fry. I think there's bigger concerns. I mean, you know, you got a baseball, Major League Baseball, that allows Alex Rodriguez to keep playing baseball, who was openly admitted to cheating the game for years, and then gets turned around and caught cheating again, and you continue to let him play in the sport? Caught. Not suspected, not Barry Bonds, where you never proved it. Yes, we all know in the back of our head that, Barry Bonds, you got a lot bigger. But no, you was never caught. And so for that fact alone, I know that he's never going to get in the Hall of Fame, and if he ever does at any point, he's going to be an asterisk, which I'm sorry, but one, I have an issue with it because pitchers were doing it too, so it was kind of even out the ball game here. But two, more specifically with Barry Bonds, you never proved anything. So therefore, you can't keep him out of the Hall of Fame, or you shouldn't be allowed. I can't say you can't keep because they're going to keep him out of it. But he shouldn't be kept out of it, and he shouldn't have an asterisk because it was never proven. I'm sorry. Even though in the back of our mind, we know. There's no doubt in our mind from the days he was back with the Pittsburgh Pirates to the way he looked at the San Francisco Giants. Yes, you obviously knew he put on something. And it wasn't weight from smoking weed and having the munchies. It's obvious. It's obvious what we saw out of Mark McGwire in his early days to where he finished. It's obvious. But you can't prove it. Maybe he had one of the best mass building, lean muscle building regimens that we, not too many people do or heard of. Like I said, I'm not delusional. There's no doubt in my mind. But because it's never been proven, I can't say, okay, I can't put you into the Hall of Fame because even though I believe without a shadow of a doubt you did it, nobody could ever prove you did it. And it's possibly you just legitimately got that much bigger over your career from hard work and a lot of gym time and eating just right and taking the right legal supplement. I'm sorry, I couldn't be on that board because I would have to put you in. And I don't see how anybody, they can't, I just don't see how you can say you can't be in because it was never proven. But anyway, but you have Alex Rodriguez, who's openly admitted in his Texas Ranger years, and then this whole stuff that got him suspended for a year that proved he was still cheating the game. He is still allowed to play the sport, but at the same time, you got Pete Rose, who, as a manager, bets on some games, and you instantly ban him from everything. He just now pretty much allowed to show up to stuff. You pretty much banned him from everything and forbid him to be in the Hall of Fame. You got much more serious things out there to be focused on. NFL, your officiating crew is falling apart. The NBA, between the inconsistency of your officiating and the out-of-hand still because you're not taking it serious still at this point, the flopping issue. I'm sorry, but I've never seen a grown man, 250, 270 pounds, get brushed by somebody's breeze or their jersey might brush up against them and they fall 6 feet to the ground. We can name in every sport so many other topics and issues with each of those sports. that are so much more severe and need more focus than worrying about if a player smokes marijuana. I'm sorry, but no. Tell you what, it's tough to be Ohio State. You're sitting number 3 in the college football polls. You lose to a top 10 team. Ends up being a top 3 team by a 3-point last play of the game. Turn around and beat another top 10 team by like 30-something points. And you fall from 3rd to 6th, or no, 3rd to 8. You move up to 6th. And then your off week, you manage to lose another spot. Even though you came off of a remarkable victory against a top 10 team that should still be carrying some weight, you find yourself losing a spot. And I think it was more the fact that they just didn't want it to be Ohio State, Iowa State, or Iowa and Ohio State in a bowl game, I guess, and having 2 Big Ten teams. I don't know. I think that should have been and more of an inspiration to keep them 6th. There's no reason 11-2 Stanford team should have leapfrogged over Ohio State. I'm sorry. No. Clemson, number 1, struggled first half of that game against UNC. Managed to take the lead pretty much last play of the quarter. I think they might have kicked it off, and that was it. And then the second half, they opened it up. Now UNC ended up closing the gap, but there for a while, UNC had opened up, I want to say it was 35-13 or something. Had opened up a pretty sizable lead, and then UNC closed it up a little bit. Alabama, not that commanding of a win. Not what I thought. 29-15? I was expecting a little bigger of a gap. Michigan State, 16-13 over Iowa. Leapfrogs, goes from the 5th spot to the 3rd spot with the beating of Iowa. Oklahoma obviously had the week off. Well, from a 3rd to a 4th spot. Iowa slides down from 3 to 5, with which to me would have made more sense. Is Michigan State would have gone to 3, Iowa to 4, Oklahoma to 5th. I know you sat idle, and I know it's kind of a sucks, but if Ohio State can lose a spot to a Stanford team that doesn't deserve to be above them, why should Iowa fall below Oklahoma when they lost to a 5th-ranked team by 3 points? They should have slid it down to 4th, or even stay 3rd, and Michigan State with the win should have bumped up the Oklahoma spot. But you got Michigan State, 16-13 win over Iowa, moves up to the 3rd spot. Oklahoma, so you're going to have Clemson and Oklahoma, Alabama, Michigan State for your playoff games to decide who goes to the championship game. I believe the Iowa and Stanford should make for somewhat of an interesting matchup. Both of them overrated, so it'd be interesting who was more overrated. I have a feeling it's going to be Iowa. Because Iowa's only really true test throughout the season was Michigan State, and they couldn't beat Michigan State. Stanford has been a little bit more battle-tested, so I think that Stanford can withstand the Iowa Hawkeyes there. Ohio State, there you go. Ohio State, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, highly rated, goes to one BCS championship game that, honestly, they should have never even went to because they didn't beat nobody all year. They just happened to have an undefeated record. They actually played against somebody. They played against Alabama in the national title game. An Alabama team that wasn't supposed to be there. They were not even the number 2 team. They were the number 3 team. Ohio State was living out their bowl ban at the number 2 spot, so they got bumped out of the bowl game. But it should have been, honestly been Alabama and Ohio State. That should have been your 1-2. Notre Dame did not belong in the top 2. But with them being undefeated and having the number one spot, it honestly should have been Notre Dame and Ohio State, but it ended up being Notre Dame, Alabama. Alabama beat the crap out of Notre Dame, a team that didn't belong there. And ever since then, they've been riding high on that one bowl appearance, because there's not been a Notre Dame team since then that has been anywhere close to being an undefeated team. But there's not been a Notre Dame team in a long time that has been a serious threat of winning a national title. Very confident that Ohio State will do their thing over Notre Dame. Now, if all prevails, we should see Florida State and North Carolina play each other in the next bowl game, which ought to be interesting. A highly overrated Florida State team, a UNC team that should have done better against Clemson, but not going to hold a lot against UNC, because Clemson has been the best team. So, as much as and they're not holding true there. They're not going to let the 9 and 10 play each other, which makes no sense. They should have let. You got 1, 2, 3, and 4 playing each other. You got 7 and 8 and 5 and 6 playing each other. Why not have 9 and 10? Why not let it be Florida State and UNC? But yeah, that's not how they got it. We got number 21 Navy is going to be playing Pitt in the Military Bowl. That should be a fun, interesting game. Russell Athletic Bowl would be 10th ranked North Carolina against 17th ranked Baylor. That ought to be a good game. Baylor highly overranked and lost a couple games late in the season when they actually had to play somebody. UNC wasn't thought of until the latter part of the season, and looked really good until that Clemson game. And like I said, I won't take anything away from Clemson UNC, because Clemson was that UNC team, Clemson was the best ACC team, and so I don't want to take anything away from Notre Dame as well, take anything away from UNC as well, because Clemson was that good to me. But the AdvoCare V100 Texas Bowl, LSU Texas Tech. Well, we'll see if LSU can rebound. I tell you what, from the beginning of the season to now, this is not the same LSU team that we've been talking about. At the beginning of this season, we thought more highly. I wouldn't even say about really more highly about LSU, but we really thought that with the run game that LSU was with Leonard Fournette. We honestly thought that, that right there, with the performances he was putting on, that was going to help keep LSU a top 10 team easily, not fall to 8-3 and be 20th ranked. This game, could be a good way for LSU to at least rebound and finish the season on a high note and look forward to hopefully next year improving on it. But this is definitely it. LSU was top 5, and was highly looked upon earlier in the season, and to see him now in 20th and playing Texas Tech in an AdvoCare Bowl, Auburn, highly overrated early in the season. Memphis had found its way in the top 25 there for a while, and things just kind of fell apart. They'll be going against each other in the the Birmingham. Wow, I kept wanting to Brigham Young. Birmingham Bowl on the 30th. Other interesting one. NC State and Mississippi State in the Belk Bowl. Interesting matchup. Texas A&M and Louisville. I think Texas A&M will have it easily. USC, 25th ranked USC against Wisconsin, who just kind of fell flat at the end of the season. That should be a good matchup in the Holiday Bowl, late game, 10:30 on 30th. Then things start warming up here. You got the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl 18th ranked Houston against 9th ranked Florida State. Like I said, I still would have rather seen UNC and Florida State 9 and 10. I want to see 10, 11, 11, 12, or 12, 13. Yeah, 9, 10, then 11, 12, 12, 13, or 13, 14, 15, 16. Think about the 20. Then it can be at least. If we have 19 and 20 going each, odds are we're going to see a much better game than we have 20th ranked LSU and Texas Tech. I'm hoping that Texas Tech shows up, and I'm hoping that LSU is still having issues, so it's a close game. But the more likelihood of us having closer ranked teams playing each other versus getting all scattered are likely. And, I just rather would see it that way. But you got Oklahoma and Clemson on New Year's Eve as well. 4 o'clock game, Orange Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Michigan State, and Alabama, the late game at 8 o'clock. And obviously the winner of those 2 games will be facing off in the BCS championship game. On New Year's, Outback Bowl, 13th ranked Northwestern against 23rd Tennessee. It was funny because the first game of the season, Tennessee was ranked 25th. They won the game, but they allowed like 500 yards against a no-name college. I told everybody then, if they don't fix that problem, they're not going to stay in the top 25. What happens? They fall out of the top 25. They managed to get right back inside the top 25 and 23rd. Northwestern, some weeks they play exceptionally well. Some weeks they don't show up. Consistently, they have been about a 12th to 23rd ranked team. That's about where they are. They're about middle of the top 25. They're not a top 10 team, and they're really not 25th on, 23rd on back. They're middle of the pack when it comes to the top 25, and I don't know if they'll ever be better than that. I know at times they've been higher ranked than that, and I know at times they've been lower ranked than that, but I don't, and especially the last 2 or 3 years. And it's been consistent. They've kind of, and I know they're not settling on that, and I know that, if eventually if things don't get better, coaches will still lose their job. But I mean, realistically, this is what we get. This is what we have. 12th to 23rd ranked, maybe 12th to 21st. That's about what they are. Outlook Bowl, it should be a good game. I think Northwestern should win it pretty easily. I'm not going to say they're going to blow it out, but, 7 and 10 points easily, not even close. Like, Tennessee might score a touchdown late, and it'd be 28 to 21, and Northwestern gets the ball back with a minute or 2 left kind of scenario. But I don't think it's going to be a game that Northwestern really has to sweat out that bad. I think Northwestern to get out to a nice little lead, then it'll go tick for tack, and they'll go back and forth scoring. Notre Dame, Ohio State. Notre Dame highly overrated. I would be surprised if it's under 14 points. I think Ohio State wins this, especially what they found out about themselves with the Michigan State loss, and they really showed that they got things figured out in the Michigan win. I think they capitalized on that, and I have them at least 2 touchdowns. Michigan, 14th ranked Michigan, 19th ranked Florida. I think that 19 next to Florida is very complimentary. They've really not showed us anything especially against ranked teams. Michigan, outside of that loss to Ohio State, and it was more of Ohio State making a statement after that loss than really anything. It was really the only game I feared. I didn't even fear the Michigan State game. I feared the Michigan game. I think that Michigan will win this game very easily. Stanford and Iowa will get a true test. Out of Iowa, was they highly overrated? Was the fact that they really didn't play nobody, and then when they finally did, they lost, and it was only a 3-point game. Or Stanford, battle tested and really good enough to compete. I think this will be a close game. I think that Big Ten football, the Smash Mouth football, will prevail, and I think Iowa will win, and I think it'll be one of those games, 3 to 7 points, in the Rose Bowl on January 1st, 5 o'clock. Sugar Bowl later on that night, 8:30, Oklahoma State and Ole Miss. Interesting matchup. 2 teams about where they need to be, 12 to 16. I think that Ole Miss, the SEC, Ole Miss will prevail over Oklahoma State, Pac-12. I I just think that you play in the Big Ten, you play in the SEC, you play better caliber football. Oklahoma, the reason you're there is most of your games are against other Big 12 teams, and we've seen what happened to Baylor, TCU, and Oklahoma State when they actually played somebody. They didn't win. Yes, it looked good with all three of them being undefeated and being towards the top, and a lot of questions will Big 12 ever finally get the recognition that they deserve, and that what they didn't deserve nothing, because none of them had played anybody up until they got to the end of the year, and when they actually played somebody, they all fell apart. They weren't putting up to 70 points a game. They weren't blowing out teams. They weren't making it look easy, and they no longer look good offensively or defensively. Penn State, Georgia, we already know that Georgia's losing the coach. Penn State, 5-1 when they played Ohio State, and things just didn't pan out after that. Really got beat bad by Michigan State. I think that Penn State still has a lot of things to improve on. They are playing in the Tax Slayer Bowl in the second against Georgia. I think you try to go out on a high note for the coach that gave you 15 years. It's also a better team to me. I like Georgia. Liberty Bowl, Kansas State, Arkansas. Arkansas, you really put your foot in your mouth when your coach talked garbage about the Big Ten schedule. But it was all said and done, and we played who we had to play. Top 3 teams in the top 7. So, and 4 teams in the top 14. No, 5 teams in the top 14. So, and they started beating all conferences and all teams, and we're going to see here with Ohio State playing Notre Dame, and Michigan State going against Alabama, the SEC, and of course Iowa going against the Pac team. We're about to see, because we're about to see this Big Ten team play every little conference. But I don't feel sorry for Arkansas. Arkansas will probably win this game against Kansas State, because Arkansas has had some impressive wins later in the season. They had some really simple, embarrassing losses early. So the Alamo Bowl, Oregon, TCU, 2 teams. Yeah, I'm going to take Oregon. Even though Oregon has been highly overrated for a long time, and when they had their opportunity to finally show up last year, put up or shut up, they were told to shut up and sent home by Ohio State. But they're better than TCU. Cactus Bowl, West Virginia or Arizona State. Played that game. Not really interested in that one as well. It's wouldn't be surprised if Arizona State wins, but those gimme bowls, they should already be done and over with. But those are a lot of your matchups. Other interesting ones, I guess BYU and Utah, 22nd ranked. You're playing on the 19th. That's what a 22nd rank gets you, the Las Vegas Bowl. Ohio University and Appalachian State, that'd be a fun, interesting matchup. I just don't like this whole concept of all these matchups, all these bowls, and you'll watch the Arkansas and Louisiana Tech Bowl, and you'll look in the stands, and you'll see maybe the quarter of that stadium filled. And Boise State and Northern Illinois, that'd be a fun game to watch. Still not going to be a lot of people there, but a fun game. Now, you got all these meaningless games that nobody's going to care about. No, Nevada and Colorado State. The only people who's going to show up is the very close friends or family, and that's it. There's not going to be people who just be going to come in to watch that game. There ain't nobody going to be tuned in just to watch that game. It's like California and Air Force. Nobody just going to tune in and say, you know what, I have nothing better to do at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon than watch a football game. Now, if this would have been, Alabama and Michigan State 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, yes, people would have been calling out of work, reworking their schedule, whatever, and making a point to be out there and point to watching it, or at least be DVR. Nobody is going to DVR the 2:30 game on Monday with Western Kentucky and South Florida. Now, what needs to happen? This is what needs to happen. You've got a whole month off, because now you're talking the end of the month for these bowl games. So you got a whole month off. What needs to happen is it needs to go to a 16-week or a 16-team or college bowl. So we would have seen start off round one. You would have saw Clemson go against Oklahoma State, Alabama against Oregon, Michigan State against Michigan. I mean, how does it get? I mean, we got Alabama and Oregon, two teams that was in the Final Four last year. You got Michigan State, who wins on a punt block against Michigan. You got Oklahoma going against Northwestern, which will make for a great matchup. Iowa against Mississippi, another good matchup. Stanford against TCU, and Stanford gets that one. Ohio State against North Carolina, a good one. And then you would have Notre Dame against Florida State. Look at all those matchups you would have in week one. Just alone in week one. Let's say all the top 8 teams win. Then that would give you Clemson and Notre Dame, another good matchup. Alabama, Ohio State, digging enough of that last year. Michigan State, Stanford, Oklahoma, and Iowa. So you'd have another round, and it would just say for craps and giggles, you get down to your Final Four, and then you would once again have where we're at now this year with Clemson. And I wouldn't even have a problem if we had 16 colleges and the top 4 got a bye, and so you did it that way, and then you had Iowa against Oklahoma and so forth and so forth. I wouldn't have a problem with that as well. You need to expand all these stupid bowl games that mean nothing. That the only people who are going to show up and either watch the game on TV, unless you're that much of a sports fanatic, and you couldn't find no other game at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. And I got about 30 sports channels. Thank God to Shorty. We got about 30 sports channels on here. The Big Ten Network, all these. I guarantee I could find a volleyball game, because we sat here and watched a volleyball game one night. I could watch a baseball game, find a baseball game, a hockey game, an NBA game with NBA TV, NFL Network, the NHL Network. Everything is going on. I guarantee I could find something that I would rather watch than to watch some of these bowl games that are going to be going on, and most people, they could. So unless you are a direct, personal friend or family, either you're not going to the game or you're not watching the game. So why not eliminate these meaningless bowl games? At least the top 16. You can still call them bowl games. They're still, because the Cotton Bowl and the other bowl game, when you got Oklahoma and Clemson playing, Alabama and Michigan State playing, they're still playing in what they call bowl games. So you could still have, if you had Clemson go against Oklahoma State in week 1, you would still have called that a bowl game. So you would still have bowl games, but now you would have 8 premier in week 1 bowl games that people are going to want to watch. Yeah, outside of 16, go ahead and have those meaningless bowl games during the week. Let's preserve the top 16 teams battling to see who ultimately gets to be the champion. Have them on the weekends. Have them Friday and Saturday, or just Saturday. You got 4 bowl games. You can start them at noon, 3, 6, and 9, or whatever the case may be. You can make this happen. Or if you got to split it up, half Saturday, half Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, so you're not interfering with the NFL. I don't care how you do it. And then the next week you're going to have your meaninglessly bowl games that everybody can watch in the middle of the week, just like you got now. But then the next week you would have 4 premier bowl games that everybody's going to want to watch. And then next week you're going to have 2. How am I the only one here? Or I'm not going to say the only one, because I've had other people, 8 and 12, or 8 and 16 games. But how is the NCAA not thinking this process through and evaluating the ratings, the sponsor, the advertiser you're going to get from those ratings? Because now you can charge more for those damn advertisement spots. The attendance to these games, you're paying all the vendors and the security and the police department for the extra, everything that you got to put into it. Your staff, the officiating crew, everything. Why not get more bang for your buck? Instead of the only people showing up as a quarter of the stadium, and that's just friends and family of these games, why not maximize your opportunity and guarantee yourself outside of the meaninglessly bowl games, which you're going to have less and less meaningless games outside, because now you got 8 bowl games that were spread out across, multiple days. Now you're going to have them in one weekend, so you're going to have less of the meaningless ones. Why not maximize your opportunity here? Not only are you now putting must-see product on the field, because now you're not going to have 22nd ranked Utah get to nobody as one of your featured games for the day. Now your worst game with the worst team, which still was 11-2 Oklahoma State, is going against Clemson. Of course, everybody's going to tune in. Now Clemson's got 3 more games that they traditionally wouldn't have in order to win a national title game. 2 more games. Now with the playoff game, Clemson against Oklahoma, so now you're adding 2 more games. So now you want to see, is there a Cinderella story? So of course people are going to tune into this game. Not only Oklahoma State fans, but and family, but Clemson State, Clemson's friends and family, plus everybody has got an interest in watching the number 1 team, plus the fact that this is a bowl game. I mean, there's a lot of things that you got to factor into it. It would make more sense to do it this way. And I know this is kind of me being greedy, because once upon a time we watched Alabama put up the most pansy schedule they possibly could so they could go undefeated or maybe have 1 loss against another team that did the same thing, LSU. And really, that was your only competition all year long. And you start adding the records up. I mean, we could do Florida State. Their combined opponents were 81-81, and then they beat not the best team in the SEC. They beat an Auburn team that took 2 miracle plays. The miracle play to get their side of the SEC, the miracle play, the 108-yard field goal return against Alabama to win the SEC championship to get that bid for the bowl. Yes, we went from that to watching last year. You had to play 2 out of the other 3 top 4 teams. I mean, you say what you want to say about Ohio State, but they had to prove themselves. They had to not only beat Alabama, they had to beat Oregon, 2 teams that were favored to be the winners. If you would ask at the beginning of the season, middle of the season, or even before we got to the playoffs, what 2 teams would you pick? It would be either Alabama or Oregon. They're Florida State, we knew that they didn't have a shot. They knew once they actually played somebody, they weren't going to beat them. And nobody had faith in Ohio State because they lost to Virginia Tech early in the year, and they're on their 3rd-string quarterback. So this might be me being greedy, because we went from watching Alabama and Florida State put up pansy schedules to win national titles to now you actually got to beat 2 out of the 3 best 4 out of the 4 best teams in the league. You can't count yourself. So yes, it is vastly improved, and the national champion is more legit than ever. And I understand opening up to 16 teams, now you take out a little bit of legitimacy, because if Oklahoma State beats Clemson now, out of the top 4 teams, now you only got to beat 2 other teams. I mean, there's not 3 teams there. I mean, but if you're the national title, you legitimately deserve it. I mean, Oklahoma State won, and they legitimately, if they beat Clemson, and then they beat another team in the top 16, and then have to beat another team, I mean, at some point, the odds are they're going to play at least another top 5 team. But if you put yourself in that predicament that you are in the top 16 to make it, and you beat 3 other top 15 teams if you're the 16th ranked team, and one of them's going to already be the number 1 team, the odds are you're going to have to play either a 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, even when I broke it down the way I did, there's no doubt in my mind I would have Clemson, Alabama, Michigan State, and Oklahoma going deep into the bracket. So Oklahoma State would prove its legitimacy. I mean, legitimately they're 11-2, and there was serious talks about them making it into the top 4 at one point. So you beat a number 1 team, you beat another top 5 team, and then who knows who you got in the second round. I mean, you're the worst seeded team, so you're going to play the next best seeded team. So if Alabama go ahead and beat Oregon, then Oklahoma State is going to go against Alabama. I mean, Oklahoma State's going to have the 16 seed team is going to have the worst ride because they're always going to be matched against the highest seed still available. So yes, it would suck to be the 16. I mean, at this point, you almost got to sympathize, and if someone's a 16 seed team and they win the national title, you got to give them, I guess, more respect. To say they beat out Clemson in round 1, they got to play Alabama in round 2. They beat them, then they got to beat Michigan State in round 3. And that's assuming they win. I mean, there's a good possibility you could play 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Good possibility. You could. I'm just saying it would make for better ratings. It would make for better financially, economically. There's no aspect of going to a 16-team playoff. And if it be you play nobody gets a bye, or the first round you give the top 4 a bye and make 5 through 16 play and work your way. Any way you go at it, it is a win-win situation. Preferably, you just play all the top 16. Nobody gets a bye. Because you put on 8 great bowl games in the first week alone. And stories will be written. History will be made. And you will see filled stadium. You will see higher ratings. There's no doubt in my mind, and I don't get how the college football, especially as greedy as they are, and I'm not going to get this whole players should get paid things. I don't feel that way. I feel if you're given a free $50,000 or $60,000 education a year, you're getting more than fair share. Either you quit complaining and you get the free college and take advantage of it and actually get your degree, or okay, everybody gets paid, but now nobody gets nothing free. No scholarships because you're making money. You pay for it. You pay for your books. You pay for your board. You pay for your food. You pay for everything. You want to be treated like it's a job, then now you don't get awarded anything. I don't feel that you get scholarships and get paid. So to me, it's one way or another, and I guarantee you once they realize how much they will get paid and how much it costs to go to school, I think that they would rethink that whole process and really shut their mouth. But I'm not also delusional to think that the NCAA is not greedy. That is the reason why we have all of these bowl games, because these sponsors pay them this money. I understand where, we got the March Madness, and that brings in gazillions of dollars. It is ridiculous how much money. And TV deals and sponsorships and ticket sales and everything else that goes into it. So, yes, I know that the NCAA is greedy. And that's why even more so why it surprises that the NCAA does not go to this and do 16-school playoff. And so it maximizes sponsors, it maximizes advertising, it maximizes viewership, it maximizes everything. And I'm shocked. Really, I am. I thought more highly of the NCAA when it comes to their greediness. Oh goodness. The Broncos have waived backup quarterback Christian Ponder. I don't even know why you waste the paper. The money that cost you in the paper you wrote that check on. Christian Ponder is not even worth that. Less than 2 weeks after signing quarterback Christian Ponder, the Denver Broncos announced Trevor Siemian as the only backup behind quarterback Brock Osweiler. Peyton Manning remained sidelined with a plantar fasciitis tear, according to the DenverBroncos.com. Ponder did take a single snap for the Broncos and hadn't played in the NFL since October 2014. I don't even know why they wasted any kind of time, even wasted the breath. I mean, that was probably a 2-minute conversation that they'll never get back. 2 minutes of their life, they'll never get back. Got some interesting games this weekend, and I tell you what, my trend is trending bad over the last 3-4 weeks. Not been up to par, not been at 70-75% that I've been so used to and enjoying so well. But we're going to give it a crack around this week and see what we can make of the NFL. The silliness of the NFL in some of these games. I mean, here I was Sunday night picking the New England Patriots, and I watched the Denver Broncos on a walk-off touchdown run in overtime. Then I picked the Cleveland Browns to beat the Baltimore Ravens, who Ravens blocked the field goal and walk-off touchdown. And then Monday night I picked the Detroit Lions to win. They already won in Lambeau Field. We watched the Green Bay Packers fall apart. The Detroit Lions had been doing so well. So I picked the Detroit Lions, and the Green Bay Packers win on a walk-off Hail Mary. Ain't caught a break any time lately when it comes to my NFL picks. And so kind of what used to be a very fun part of the show and one of my favorite parts of the show, especially when I was creeping up on being 75% right, has really turned into a part of the show. And in some weeks I kind of dread knowing that picks just ain't been falling the way I need them to fall. Not been winning the games I need to be winning. So, but nonetheless, we're going to pull the pin out here because I got to write these down as we go through these. So I have these ready for the football pool this week. Monday nights, we got Thursday night, we got the Minnesota Vikings. Sitting 8-4, kind of a team that's up and down. Lost last week. 3 of the last 5 games they've been victorious, tied with the Green Bay Packers. Of course, Green Bay owns the tiebreaker, both sitting 8-4. A team's going to ask me at the end of the season, would I say they would make the playoffs? I would say no. Now, you ask me, there's a possibility. I am still not sold on Teddy Bridgewater. I'm still not sold on the Minnesota Vikings team. They have still not showed me enough for me to convincingly say, yes, even at 8-4, and right now they're on the inside of the wild card, 1 game up on the Seattle Seahawks, and then really 2 games to anybody else, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, as your 2 teams sitting on the outside looking in. Even with them sitting like that, I am still not convinced. I think that there's still life in Atlanta. I could still see Atlanta going 10-6 very easily. Yes, I could see them beating Carolina twice. And I could see them, even though they're on a 5-game losing streak, I can still see it happening. Don't ask me why. And this week could be first true test as they go against the Carolina Panthers. But I can only say probably there's a chance. I can't say with certainty still at this point whether or not the Minnesota Vikings will be in the playoffs. Arizona Cardinals, 10-2, top of the West, the best team of the West. Should be your number 1 seed. the lack of really any opponent for the Carolina Panthers has the Panthers sitting 12-0 and the number one seed. And that's what happens when the only team you play above 500 is the Green Bay Packers, who came off that 73 total passing yards by Aaron Rodgers, part of that streak where they lost to the Detroit Lions for the first time in like 20 years on Lambeau Field, and Jay Cutler, the following game, gets his first win on Lambeau Field. Yeah, that's kind of been the sum of the Carolina Panthers' hardest team so far this year. But Arizona, that's still my team for the NFC representative for the Super Bowl. That's who I picked at the beginning of the year. That's who I still think is the best team in the NFC, and I think that's who your representative is going to be. 6-game win streak. Just they impressed me. They're a very good team, and their receiving core great, running back even with Ellington going down, Chris Johnson picked up. Chris Johnson goes down, Ellington picks up. Defensively, very, very sound. What are we looking at? Second, and I'm sure there's another team third, fourth least, top 5 defense in scoring allowed. I mean, this Arizona defense is very, very good. I have Arizona winning tomorrow night over Minnesota for the Thursday night game. Sunday, things kicked off. Atlanta, Carolina. Yes. Carolina had 2 teams. 3 games total scheduled that are above 500. And now there's a possibility that they might only have 2 games that are above 500 teams. And I can't even say above 500. I got to say right at 500 because Atlanta's not even above 500 now. They're sitting 6-6 right at 500. So Atlanta was the only other team on their schedule outside of Green Bay that was legit this year. Even with Atlanta starting off 6-0 and then falling 6 straight games to be sitting 6-6. Well, 5 straight losses. I'm sorry, they started off 6-0 and then have gone 1-6 since then, or started off 5-0 and went 1-6 since then. Even with that said, I have more confidence in the Atlanta Falcons than I have in the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta's actually beat somebody. Yes, they ain't done the last 5 weeks, but Atlanta's actually beat somebody. Carolina is not. I have Atlanta going in to Charlotte and beating the Carolina Panthers, and I get to listen to less and less and see less and less Panther merchandise, paraphernalia, whatever you want to call it, as the Panthers will be shut up this week, and the only keep pounding you're going to hear is them in the shower room, and that's to be the extent of any pounding that's going to be going on. Next game, San Francisco at Cleveland. This was a game I was supposed to travel to Durham for. This was the only game on the schedule, the first time that we've played each other in years. We discussed at the beginning of the season that we would be at the same place at the same time for this game. And life happens, and I would say work happens, but I could have been off board if life wouldn't have happened. And one of the vehicles, two of the vehicles wouldn't be broke down out of the 3, and Shorty needs theirs to work and got to watch the kids and everything else that changed since when we discussed this either the beginning of the season or last season, I forget when it was discussed to now. But a lot of things have changed since I want to say it was July. Whenever the schedule was released, it was probably springtime when this was discussed. But obviously that's not happening, and obviously it's for a good cause because all I would do was waste an hour 15-minute drive up the road to watch the Cleveland Browns go from 2-10 to 2-11. Yes, I have more confidence in the Blaine Gabbert-led offense than I have in a Johnny Manziel-led offense. It's not even really the offense. I think the Cleveland Browns offensively will do pretty good. That defense isn't stopping anybody. they allowed the Cincinnati Bengals to score 37 points and early, and Cincinnati wasn't even really trying to put up points later in the game. They done had that sealed up. It was kind of just fool around time and just play it wherever. I mean, I have a lot of pride, and I fully support my team. I am not one of those people that it don't matter how ugly it gets, I do not abandon ship. I am a loyal fan, and I'm a loyal. When it comes to a lot of things, I'm loyal. You can assure you there are certain businesses that I will not step foot in because of my loyalty. Certain jobs I wouldn't take because of my loyalty. Certain places and things and words won't ever be said or done because of my loyalty. That's just the type of person I am. Prime example, the place that I bounced yesterday's Pub and Grill, 98 Amarillo Lane, Sanford, North Carolina. Check it out. Great place, great food, great atmosphere, great music. Was employed with them for a year. Had to leave due to babysitting and really ride situation. It was all my doing. I'm still welcome, open arms anytime we go in there. But the owner prior to that had sold it to him and then ended up buying a business right around the block. And essentially, it serves different food, but it's not the food part of it. It's the bar that was not supposed to be there, the pool tables, and basically turned into the same thing as yesterday's turns on Friday and Saturday nights. And after 9 o'clock, they turn out like have a DJ and open up the dance floor and everything else. It's packed house, great place. And essentially, not only that, before they opened, the old owner of yesterday's, who opened up the new business, was in there recruiting their employees and ended up, pretty much taking the whole crew from underneath the new owner's feet. And, it's funny because the first time Shorty and her kids went by it, they had pointed it out and said about going there, and, Shorty informed them why we would never step foot in there. So there for a while, every time after that, every time we go past it, she would point saying, we'll never go there. So, I'm one of those people. That's how my loyalty runs. I was done shady at 2 prior jobs, and I will never set foot in or provide any kind of financial support to either one of those 2 particular establishments. There's another establishment I will never spend money at because one of the managers sexually harassed my daughter. So, I mean, I have my stance and my loyalty to certain things, and the Cleveland Browns happens to be one of them. And I know there wouldn't be a lot of crap talked because the 49ers suck and they're 4-8, and even with the win, they're only 5-8. They're expected to beat the Cleveland Browns. They beat the Cleveland Browns, and they probably won't beat them by the score that they should beat them. The game will probably end up being closer than it should be, but I guess in hindsight, it's really better that, and it kind of sucks that I ain't seen my best friend in months at this point now. I don't even remember the last time I even seen him. Baby shower. You're right, the baby shower. And what month was that? I don't remember. Spring, early summer. Yeah, I was going to say spring, early summer. So it's been a handful of months. And, I went from once upon a time to living with them, seeing them every day, to living with them, working with them every day, and going to the gym with them every day, to not seeing them at all, to bouncing at one of the same places he worked at, so we see each other 3 or 4 days a week, to, now he has a child, and now essentially I'm helping raising 4 kids, and have opposite schedule of Shorty and 1 car, so we don't see each other at all. So I probably would love to go on to watch this game in Durham, but probably for the best. I think I'd have been aggravated to waste the time, the money, not be making the money, and the arrangements, the babysitting that would have been paid to. Yeah, I think that is probably best. In my best interest that I didn't go anyway. I probably wouldn't have any fun. But 49ers, needless to say, as the Cleveland Browns will surely lock and seal their fate at having the number 1 draft pick. I don't know. Tennessee's not going to win this week, so they'll still have within 1 game's reach, and San Diego ain't going to win either, so they'll still be within 1 game's reach of the Cleveland Browns. But we got the next game. We got the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know. Drew Brees has got the same issue as Peyton Manning, but we're not seeing the same out of these quarterbacks nor these offenses. And we knew that the Saints were going to take a big hit when they lost Jimmy Graham, but we didn't realize it was going to be this big of a hit. No stretch of the imagination am I expecting a Jameis Winston-led Tampa Bay Buccaneer team make the playoffs if they do happen to slide into a wild-card position, which is a very big possibility, especially with the fact that the NFC East, you got 3 teams right now, 5 and 7. Right now, Dallas can only finish at 500, and at best, the rest of the teams are only going to finish at 9 and 7 at best, and we know that's not going to happen. So we know Philadelphia and the Giants got to play each other still, so that eliminates that possibility. And either Dallas is not going to make 500, or Washington's barely going to make 500 when Dallas and Washington play each other again the last week of the season. So there's a lot of what-ifs that it is going to prevent. So you already know there's not going to be a playoff team there. How long can Minnesota hold this together is whether or not Tampa Bay gets it. Can Atlanta turn their season around? Can they run and go 10-6? That's another possibility. And then, of course, Seattle is also the other obstacle still. And Seattle's starting to play lights-out football, especially Russell Wilson. I have Tampa Bay winning. I have Tampa Bay going 7-6. I think they are the better team. That's sad to say with the Jameis Winston-led team versus the Drew Brees-led team. But Tampa Bay right now is playing much better football than the New Orleans Saints. I have Tampa Bay at home over the Saints. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, very interesting game, as Pittsburgh really had no opportunity against the Cincinnati Bengals last time, but also quarterback situation was much different. Now you got a healthy Ben Roethlisberger. All 3 of these wide receivers have come into their own. D'Angelo Williams has really picked up his run game. That Steeler defense is starting to play like the Steeler defense that we've come to expect. Do I think that the Steelers can catch? And I think it's a little too late in the season. I think that Cincinnati has enough of a cushion right now that they can survive losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers and still be able to coast to winning the NFC North. They got next week at San Francisco. I don't think the 49ers can win. Yes, they'll lose to Denver. Possibility of losing to Baltimore at home. That was a seesaw battle there. But I think it's too late. I think the Steelers can win this week. I think Steelers are going to go on a run. I think the Steelers have finally found their rhythm. I think that as long as nobody gets hurt, I think the Steelers can do some damage. I think that they could win at home against Denver. The other 3 games, all against NFC North opponents, all at the NFC opponents, I think are all winnable games. I think that Cincinnati this week, very winnable. Like I said, home against Denver, very winnable. At Baltimore, very winnable, especially with Joe Flacco being out. And then, of course, you've got Cleveland, very winnable. I think that the Steelers can go 11-5. I think they can win out. But I don't know if that's enough. I think there's a good possibility that Cincinnati could finish 12-4. Who's the better team? The Pittsburgh Steelers are the better team at this point. But because of how earlier in the season, and of course a lot of it had to do with injuries, but how the beginning of the season played out for the Pittsburgh Steelers, unfortunately put them in a position that they may not see winning the NFC North, that it might fall to the Cincinnati Bengals. Either way, I think Pittsburgh Steelers get in, and I think Pittsburgh Steelers are going to cause a lot of headache for all three of the teams right now, Cincinnati, New England, and Denver, and very capably can beat all three of those teams. I have the Steelers going into Cincinnati, giving Cincinnati a loss, making this race in the AFC North be a little more interesting. Washington going to Chicago. Of course, I picked Chicago last week. They lose. Of course, I picked Washington last week. They lose. Just two more times. It's a very tough matchup. A very good game. Two teams that need to win. Washington has to win. There is not a opportunity for them to get a wild card. Chicago sitting at 5-7. They have to win in order for them to even get the wild card. Right now, they're sitting behind two 6-6 teams. They're sitting behind a 7-5 Seattle team. They're sitting behind an 8-4 Minnesota Viking team. There is no losing at all the rest of the season. Chicago has to clean house and kick butt and take names to finish 9-7 in hopes that they'll get an opportunity to be in the playoffs. Probably not going to happen. Obviously, Washington has a lot more to play for than Chicago. Yes, Chicago's not been eliminated, but realistically, sitting behind Tampa Bay, sitting behind Atlanta, sitting behind Seattle, sitting behind Minnesota, there's a lot of teams, and even that, Chicago, you're still also technically sitting with or behind the Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles at this point as well, all sitting at 5-7. Realistically, Chicago is done. Mathematically, they're not. Washington has a lot more to play for. I'm going to, and I'm probably going to regret this, I'm going to pick Washington to go into Chicago and beat the Chicago Bears. Buffalo, Philadelphia, two teams once again. It seems like when I pick against them, they lose. This week I pick against Buffalo, they win. I pick against Philadelphia, they win. Very impressive win over Philadelphia. Pump the brakes on that for a second. Tom Brady didn't have anybody to throw to. A couple bad calls. A couple things swung in the wrong direction. Philadelphia, you slide by and win one. I'm not going to take nothing away from you. You did beat the New England Patriots. But I don't want to oversell that. Buffalo pulls off a victory that I wasn't counting on them to pull off as well either. Buffalo traveling to Philadelphia. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't see Buffalo putting two games together. The quarterback situation is kind of a funny scenario. None of them are consistently playing good. The running game is not consistent. Defensively, one week they show up and shut teams down. The other week they don't. The Philadelphia team has proven that they can put up points, but they also, the prior 2 weeks, they allowed 45 points, and they show they can give up a lot of points. With Chip Kelly's job on the line, a lot of these players' jobs on the line, Philadelphia at home keeps their playoff hopes alive, runs pace with the Washington Redskins, and go to 6-7. Tennessee Jets keeping their playoff hopes alive. As a matter of fact, they're still in the playoffs on the inside looking out with that 7-5 record. Them and Kansas City in, like I said, Steelers on the outside looking in. Tennessee 3-9. I was not sold in week one, even though if you watch the ESPN, you watch the NFL Network, that you swear them down. They were bobbing their head up and down on Marcus Mariota. So what? You scored 4 touchdowns against the worst team in the NFL. Yes, there was a reason why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got Jameson Winston with the number 1 pick, because the prior year they were the worst team in the NFL. So therefore, it was not surprising to see Marcus Mariota have a good game. Since then, fans have gotten quiet. The critics have gotten quiet because ain't no big deal. It's just another rookie quarterback in the NFL right now. And a 3-9 record, it's showing. It's just an average quarterback. Jets got a lot more to play for, as obviously they're on the inside looking out with Pittsburgh in their scenario, and knowing that Houston's sitting 6-6. Also, in your own division alone, you got Buffalo 6-6 and Miami 5-7. You cannot afford to lose at all. I have the Jets over the Tennessee Titans. Detroit let me down. All this hype, all this has gone on. Won 3 of the last 2 games, and have had some impressive victory. To watch you lose on a Hail Mary pass in the Green Bay Packers. St. Louis 5 games in a row you've lost. You went from 4-3 and above 500 to 4-8. People are starting to get chippery out there. People are not happy. I have Detroit bouncing back, being victorious, even though they're playing in St. Louis. I have a feeling Megatron and Stafford hook up more than once. Golden Tate gets involved. I have the Lions over the St. Louis Rams. San Diego. Oh, San Diego. What is going on in San Diego? 2-6 in the conference, 1-4 in your last 5, 3-9 for the season. Team I honestly thought was going to be the best team in the West. And yet I don't know. Then let's rewind back to the fact that Kansas City wins week 1, loses the next 5 straight games. Jamal Charles gets hurt, and they win 6 straight. Yes, we had wrote them off. They were done. They couldn't win no games with Jamal Charles. Why should they win games without Jamal Charles? The next thing you know, now they're the 4th seed in the 5th seed, in the AFC, and kind of control their own destiny. You continue to win, you're in, and that's kind of where they're sitting at. And they will continue doing so. They will be victorious at home against the San Diego Chargers to keep themselves ahead of the Pittsburgh Steelers and keep a pace with the New York Jets. I don't know what you're looking at here at this point. Seattle and Baltimore, really no contest. Brian Hoyer-led Baltimore Ravens team is not going to be a Seattle team. Seattle needs this win in order to keep their playoff hopes alive and keep ahead of Atlanta, who should win, and Tampa Bay. This loss would have really put Seattle in a bad spot to have them a 4-way tie at 7-6. I have them going to 8-5. Baltimore taking up another loss, going to 4-9, and really just hoping for the best when it comes to next year's draft at this point. Indianapolis, Jacksonville. Indianapolis coming off a really bad beatdown by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jacksonville in a close one to lost to Tennessee, so like 42-39. Indianapolis, you're not going to lose badly to the Pittsburgh Steelers and then turn around and lose to Jacksonville Jaguars. That's not going to happen. I got the Indianapolis Colts over Jacksonville, and very commandingly. I don't really think it's going to be that close of a game. Oakland and Denver. I think that Denver's defense is going to give Oakland's offense all they can handle. I think Osweiler will lead Denver. He will go 4-0 as a rookie starting quarterback. Do I think he's going to finish the season undefeated? No way in hell. But I think that they can beat the Oakland Raiders in Denver. Defensively alone, I think that will set the pace. I don't think that Denver's offense will have to score a lot of many points. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver defense and special teams score at least two of the scores in this game. But I have Denver over Oakland Raiders. Next game, very interesting. The Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay struggling, 2 of 3 in the last 5 weeks, losing to Detroit first time in 20 years, losing to Jay Cutler first time in his career, 73 passing yards, and lose to lose to Carolina. How you beat Detroit was impressive, but you got a Dallas team that is hungry. They know they can win with Matt Castle now, and they have to win. As I am projecting, at least so far, Washington and Philadelphia win. As a matter of fact, I'm projecting all 3 of the teams in the NFC East to win. Dallas has to beat the Green Bay Packers. If they don't win, mathematically, no, they're still not eliminated because all these teams still could finish at an 8-8 record. And then at that point, I don't know where the tiebreakers break down at, but obviously Dallas has beat Philadelphia, Dallas has beat Washington, And if I'm not mistaken, Dallas has beat the Giants too. So I would have to do the mathematics on it. But right now, Dallas is the only team with a winning record in this division, with a 3-2 record, and could go to 4-2 with a win over Washington. Even with all that factored in, I just do not see the Green Bay Packers losing to a Matt Castle-led Cowboy team on Lambeau Field. Green Bay has to win this game. They can't afford to fall behind Minnesota in this playoff picture. They can't afford to have to work be on the outside looking in with a loss that would put them tied with Seattle, that would put Tampa Bay and Atlanta right underneath their coattail. They just can't afford that. Lambeau Field, Dallas Cowboys, not going to happen. I got Green Bay. New England will find their winning ways once again. Yes, they will bounce back. They will beat Houston. And I know I have to correct something, because I know I slipped up and said the wrong player a minute ago. It just clicked in my head. But I'm not able to think about which Matt Schaub led Baltimore Ravens. Pick 6 King, there we go. And then now proceeding forward to a Brian Hoyer-led Houston Texans team. For some reason I got and understandably, Matt Schaub, former Houston Texan, Brian Hoyer, current Houston Texan, but got the quarterbacks backwards, but New England will be victorious over a Brian Hoyer-led Houston Texans team. I think it'll be a close game. I think J.J. Watt is going to give Tom Brady some fits. Defensively, I think that they will give Tom Brady and the New England Patriots offense a little more fit than they should. But I don't think it'll be a blowout. I think it'll be competitively close, 10 to 17 points. And I know it's not super competitively, but it could be a lot worse. But Houston at home, defensively, Wade Hopkins is playing this season. I could see it being a 10 to 17 point victory for the New England Patriots. Final game: the Giants the Giants at Miami. What one upon a time begin, especially the way Miami was playing there for a while, and what the potential was of the Giants. We really thought that this Monday night game would not be an interesting game. Now Miami winning one game, find themselves 5-7, still not mathematically eliminated, but the possibilities is getting dimmer and dimmer. Giants 3-game losing streak, only one of the last 5 games, and a must-win situation. To stay pace with Philadelphia and Washington and not falling back with the Dallas Cowboys. Now it makes this game an interesting game. It makes this a Monday game worth watching. Can the Miami Dolphins go ahead and put the fork in the New York Giants? Can the Giants do likewise? Not that Miami's really got a serious shot at making the playoffs. I mean, could be an interesting game, other than the fact that I don't think the Giants will let it stay close. I think the Giants get their act together. I think the Giants stay pace. I think all 3 of your top 3 teams, and I think it'll come down to the last week. I think that all 3 of these teams will win this week. All 3 of them will be sitting 6-7 with 3 games to go. And, of course, the last week, Dallas and Washington play each other, Philadelphia and the Giants play each other, which will make things really interesting. Dallas could play spoiler, and either Philadelphia or the Giants also could possibly play spoiler. So I like how their schedule finishes up. But I have all 3 of these teams winning this week, going 6-7. I like the New York Giants over the Miami Dolphins. Like I said, don't forget tomorrow night we got Racing with Big Sweat. We got our 3-man panel. Steve, Big Sweat Billmeyer, Chris, Yellow Caution Flag, Creighton, and, of course, myself, Mr. CJ Sports. We're going to be joined by 2 Snowflake and 2 Snowball drivers from this weekend's Snowball Derby festivities. Snowflake driver Derek Scott Jr. and Ryan Luza, and then Snowball driver Case Grayla and driver Clay Jones. All will be joining us. Yes, there will be a 7-man or 7-person roundtable this Thursday night. I'm venturing to say at least from 10 to 11. Or I'm sorry, 9 to 10. He's got it 9 to 11. So we're hoping to shoot for the whole 2 hours. You know, it all depends on how well the roundtable goes and how long the topics are swinging around. So make sure you guys check out tomorrow night's show. Don't forget tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, the 110 Nation morning show. Friday morning as well. If you've not checked out our Facebook pages, you can check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out the 110 Nations fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, hit us up on Twitter. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Our blog site, www.110nationsports.com. Excuse me, check out our company site, www.the110nation.com. I will be posting an article tomorrow, and the company site will be updated as well tomorrow. Also, if you are not following us, we're on iTunes. You can catch us on iTunes. You can catch us on Spreaker. You can catch us on Stitcher. You can catch us on SoundCloud. You can catch us on Blog Talk Radio as of right now. We're going to talk to another network, a really big network. We're very excited about that. They're talking about rebroadcasting our shows over there. We'll automatically zero in on over 110,000 new listeners that we do not currently have. So big deal. Also, we got another thing in the works, and this is where we need you guys as the listeners to help us out. We're on the Spreaker platform, and once you hit 100 follows, that opens up the possibility, basically that's the only thing holding us back from being put on the iHeartRadio network. And obviously that would be a big deal and open up our listenership to even more. And we want to bet millions, not even just hundreds of thousands. Big deal for us. As by the middle of the summer, we want to be on 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. By the end of 2016, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. Before eventually we make the big leap, we want to be able to see if we can handle a third of the day right out the gate before we jump into 24 hours a day. And eventually that's our ultimate goal. But also in 2016, get on the iHeartRadio network. But to do that, to help us do that, we need you to go over and follow us on the Spreaker platform. It takes anywhere from literally 15 to 30 seconds. If you have an account with Spreaker, all you got to do is just go over there, find the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, follow us right underneath the icon, the logo, the 110 Nation Sports logo, and you're done. If you don't have an account with Spreaker, all you got to do is go over to Spreaker, log in using your Facebook. All they do is send you one email confirming that you signed up for Spreaker. That's all they ever do. And once you sign up, all you got to do is find the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network and hit the follow button. And we've jumped over 20 follows over the last 2 months, I want to say. It seems like we were in the mid-20s in the beginning of October. Here we are in December, and we're coming up on 50. Do us one. Do us a big favor. Go over, follow us, help us hit 100. So not only do all these platforms we're already growing on, not only we're hopefully about to jump on this other network, but also we would love to be able to go to the iHeartRadio network and jump on there as well, and go from the listener viewer number that we have now to going into the hundreds of thousands to possibly a million listeners. Help us out, do that, check us out, and just do us one on that. It would be greatly appreciated. We got a lot of special guests, a lot of co-hosts, returning guests, people behind the scenes, people that we got in the works, shows that are and sponsors that are waiting, writers that are waiting for all this to happen, or to jump on board. And I know it sucks that they're waiting for it to all be there and instead help us get there, but that is what it is. And I can't fault them. If I had an opportunity to jump on a network that's having this many listeners, or jump on a network that has a crap ton of listeners, I would wait and want to put my effort into knowing that I'm getting hundreds of thousands and millions of views versus the viewership we get at this point. Not that we have a low number, but not nowhere close to where we're looking at to get here real soon. So, like I said, help us out, check us out. And if you want to be part of the 110 Nation, if you want to help co-host the show, We got Izzo for NHL experts. We have Steve Billmar come on, our NASCAR expert. If you're an expertise in MLB, NBA, you want to come on 30 minutes to an hour a day, or once a week or whatever, or you want to host your own show, as we got right now BTR Friday, Saturday, and Sunday wide open. We would love to have BTR shows. We have shows every day of the week right now. Even if it's just an hour or 2 hours a day, we would love to fill some kind of time every day. Interested to write for our blog sites or maybe behind-the-scenes stuff with PR, social media, whatever the case may be, marketing, hit me at mrcjsports@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in joining the show, all you got to do is hit at Miss Lee, that is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Either way, hit us up. Love to hear from you guys. Make sure you guys continue to like, follow, hold conversations, be part of the chat. Don't forget, like I said, tomorrow night, 9 o'clock p.m., be here for Racing with Big Sweat. Tomorrow morning, 110 Nation Morning Show, 8 o'clock, be there. You guys have a great night and have a great weekend, and we'll be talking to you guys then.
Okay, let's do this. Jog 3 miles before breakfast. Make it to work by 9. Run out for a salad at lunch. Oh, time to own that meeting at 3. Yes, 10,000 steps. What's next?
Fearless is not hitting snooze. That's the power of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program. With more healthy benefits and tools, no one does more to help you live fearless. Sign up at fepblue.org/action by December 14th.